Hey there, guys. This is Slamzoran, aka YouTube's Tasuke. I know it's a bit late, but I saw Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Um, really, I think at this point probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'd say I saw it after opening night. I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. I was actually expecting it to take a little longer, and I think it's partially due to residue from the prequel trilogy. Because I remember when waiting for that, obviously we knew there were going to be like the three movies. Like even back then, when I didn't even realize that it was even called the prequel trilogy, I just thought they were just making prequels. Even then, I knew that it was going to be three. Um, but or at least by the second movie, I knew that there were going to be three. But yeah, I'm being the Star Wars fan that I am. I don't think I've ever talked about Star Wars on this channel before, but I figured I should do a little review on it since I like the series and whatnot. I will know that there will be spoilers. I feel like at this, I don't know, people on Facebook have been posting, people are getting so up in arms about spoilers with this movie. Well, the thing is, this movie is a pretty big deal. Like, compared to other film series and other series in general, this is a huge deal. So I understand why people wouldn't want to get spoiled. I didn't want to get spoiled either. Unfortunately, when I was playing Super Smash Bros. 4 for Wii U, um, I was playing on the Miiverse level, and someone actually spoiled the movie for me, and I'm like, damn it. With regards to the fate of a certain character, um, so, and again, there will be spoilers, and I'm going to kind of go into that whole thing and my view on the cinematography and whatnot, the story, and some of my general predictions in regards to the character Rey's parentage, and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it was just kind of it was sort of annoying how people were kind of up in arms about the spoiler thing. It was really just people who just automatically hate things that are overrated, I felt like, or just sort of like, what's the big deals, sort of like that, acting like they're neutral but they really dislike it kind of thing. But since I don't think I've ever talked about Star Wars on this channel before, I will note that I have seen all six of the movies. I saw 4, 5, and 6. I don't remember seeing them. I'm pretty sure I saw them in the theater because my mom's a big fan, and I imagine there's no way she would have had us not go see the movie. And I remember getting the action figures. Like I was a fan of the series. I feel like it's kind of like Mega Man, to where I was a fan at an early age, but I don't exactly remember how I got into it. And I do actually own the original trilogy on DVD. I've been meaning to get the prequel as well, but me being a piggy collector, I've been kind of picky. And I heard that Force Awakens is going to be on Blu-ray only, which is interesting. But and 1, 2, and 3, the prequel trilogy, I actually do remember seeing those in the theaters. I think I maybe saw episode 1 like a couple of times, and saw episode 2 once, and episode 3 once. So I am familiar with this series pretty well, and so one of the big criticisms, and I do agree with what people have been saying here, is that the movie is kind of nostalgia heavy, and I do sort of agree with it, just because there's a lot of returning characters, and from what I understand, that's sort of what J.J. Abrams, that's kind of his thing. Like, I did see the first Star Trek that he did, and I kind of got a same vibe there. Of course, I wasn't as attached to Star Trek as I am to Star Wars. In fact, I barely even really know about Star Trek, but I was always more of a Star Wars kind of guy. And so I do agree that it is very heavy on the nostalgia, and it just seems like returning character from the original pops in, another one pops in, then obviously Luke pops in, but yeah, we actually kind of came into the movie a little late, so I missed the beginning part, so I didn't really know exactly what was going on. I know about the whole First Order thing and all that. So I understood that there was sort of a empire. The empire was still doing its thing, and we had the Sith are still being evil and whatnot. I imagine if I had made it to the to the movie on time, I would have gotten more backstory, but I don't know. And they show all the stormtroopers, and one thing that I thought was kind of nice, cinematography wise and storytelling wise, is that they show like Finn, like, because he's a stormtrooper, he's a clone, and his mask gets bloodied. I think it's because he accidentally shoots one of his comrades, because he doesn't feel right killing like these innocents, and his helmet gets bloodied. And I like that because it was sort of a way of identifying him, to let you know that he's a little bit more important. It was like really subtle, but it was nice. And this movie does have a couple tropes, I'll say. I don't want to say cliche or stereotype, because I feel like in this context, considering what Star Wars as a story is, it works here. And so that was kind of cool, and I sort of like the idea of a clone, a character who doesn't really have that much backstory and doesn't really have an identity, gains an identity, and turns good and whatnot. Though I feel like the posters and like the film kind of, it tries to trick, but I'll get into that like as we go on. So he's pretty much the Han Solo character of this movie and whatnot. And then they also show us Rey, who is on Jakku, I think is the name of the place. And basically the general plot going forward is that this droid called BB-8 has a fraction of a map that will lead to Luke Skywalker. And Finn is tasked with finding this droid. Originally being part of the First Order, he's sent to like capture it and probably use it to find and kill Luke Skywalker. Whereas when he changes alliance, basically he is then tasked to, like, help them find the rest of the pieces so they can find Luke Skywalker and so they can defeat the Sith and whatnot, and stuff. I don't remember too much of the plot, to be honest. It's mainly just like the little pieces. And then like they find the Millennium Falcon, and Han and Chewie show up, and that was cool. In a way, sort of Han Solo has kind of become like the Obi-Wan Kenobi character from the standpoint of an older character. Obviously not a mentor, like not the Jedi mentor. That's Luke, but Han Solo, he becomes sort of, or in a way, like he's the first returning character, and whatnot. And obviously we learned that Leia and Han, they got married and had a kid. I got the impression that they either split up or they weren't really married to be. I don't know, but like they're not together, and by I mean like literally together. But and they also show us Kylo Ren, who's like the Darth Vader character. And he's pretty much a Darth Vader like fanboy. Like he has the helmet and everything. Like Darth Vader's the man. And he's got that cool lightsaber, which I think has a bit of symbolism to his character because he's very conflicted. And we learn his identity pretty early on. That he's Han Solo and Leia's son, and that's how he's able to do the Force and whatnot, and have like the powers and whatnot. But he's really ultimately kind of conflicted. He's torn between the light and the dark, basically. And I think this is also representative in his lightsaber because, the way he holds it, or like in a way, it's like an inverted cross in a way. And I mean that from the standpoint of like, obviously when he's holding it, upright, the part that's actually the cross part is upside down, so it's inverted, so it symbolizes like evil and whatnot. But if you turn it upside down, it symbolizes good and God and whatnot. And I what I'm getting at with this with that is the idea that with his lightsaber, all you would have to do is turn it upside down and the meaning changes. And I feel like that's you can take that as a symbol of his sort of conflicting status and whatnot. And after that, they infiltrate like the First Order base and such, and Han Solo and Kylo Ren or Ben Solo have their reunion, and they lead you to think that maybe Kylo Ren is gonna like turn good again, but he actually, spoilers, but kills Han Solo, and of course the Star Killer base gets destroyed. So Han Solo's chances of survival are low. And I'm only really saying that just because he might, I don't know. But so yeah, that was the thing that was spoiled for me, and they show up. Leia gets kind of sad. It's sort of like the shock thing. Leia, Carrie Fisher's performance, a lot of people say that she was kind of phoning it in. I feel like part of it is because her voice is so different now. When I listened, I have this Star Wars documentary that I have watched several times, and they have clips of the movie. And even Luke sounds a little different. He sounds a little bit more heroic, yet when you listen to him now, he has sort of like his voice sounds a little different. Whereas Carrie Fisher has a very different sounding voice than she did back when she was younger. You know what I mean? And I think that's the main reason. I think that's really the main reason why. I feel like I can't think of any other thing. She apparently wanted to do the movie, so. One other scene that kind of sticks out in my mind is when Finn is fighting the stormtrooper that everyone calls traitor. I think it's TR-8T. Or no, TR-8R, traitor. So that's kind of funny. He has that cool little weapon thingy and whatnot. But I feel like the idea there is that Finn is kind of fighting his previous identity, or lack of an identity, as a stormtrooper / clone. And they have him fight with a lightsaber, which I kind of feel like is... I didn't really like that, because the film tries to kind of play it off like, oh, Finn, maybe Finn's the one who's the chosen one who can use force. Oh no, it's Rey the entire time. I didn't really like that because, I don't know, like, they hint. I don't know. I felt like I already knew that Rey was gonna be the one who was gonna get the Force. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure why this kind of bugs me, because when thinking about it, like, it's not like, if you didn't watch any trailers, which I really only watched the one where they introduce Han Solo and Chewbacca, which when Han Solo dies, Chewbacca has a cool moment where he gets mad and he shoots Kylo Ren. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's actually kind of strange. I'm not entirely sure why. I personally think it would have been more interesting if Finn was the one who had the Force, and was like the chosen one. Mainly just from the standpoint of him going from nothing to being someone who's pretty important. I mean, it would have been a bit of a cliche, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like it's a little bit more interesting than, say, oh, it turns out Han Solo and Leia had a daughter, and it's Rey. A lot of people are speculating, is it Han and Leia's kid? Is it Luke's kid? Some people even think it's Obi-Wan's kid, which, the film has a bunch of hints to all sides. So, I don't know. I'll get to kind of my view on that in a minute. But yeah, I feel like ultimately, like, well, I thinking about it, like, it makes sense that it'd be more of a... I guess it's just because, to me, it wasn't that much of a surprise. It might have been because I'd watched Happy Console Gamer's, like, predictions video, and and like he brought the idea like, oh, it's gonna turn out that Rey has the Force. Yeah, at the same time, I think because I remember like when it was like rumored that this movie was being made and like they were gonna start casting and whatnot. I think I remember them saying that. I think at the time they called her Rachel. And like we were looking for a female for a character named Rachel. She's the Jedi, and I don't know. I think that's also part. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that, I already knew that Rey was gonna be the chosen Jedi, like the next one to become like the big Jedi warrior, the Jedi Knight and whatnot. And while I do think it's cool when other people use lightsabers, I kind of was hoping that Finn would have been and they show it in the the poster as you see here, the one that I'm gonna use. Like it has him holding the blue lightsaber, like Luke's blue lightsaber, in a way. But I don't know. That's just me. Like I'm ultimately fine with Rey being sort of like the new lead. I actually thought it was kind of the last scene where we finally see Luke and they're playing his theme and he looks behind and he looks a little sort of like what, like sort of shocked, and Rey's holding out his lightsaber because they find him on like this stranded island or whatever, and that was a really cool scene. I was actually I was about to get kind of mad that we weren't going to see Luke in this movie. Like, are you serious? Like, you don't fucking do that. Like, don't fucking tease us and then not show the protagonist of the original story. For the at all. Like, I was worried that like it was gonna end. I was thinking like, oh well, maybe it's actually a bit longer. Maybe it's gonna go on longer. But like, oh no, it actually ends with Luke and Rey exchanging their looks and Rey being like, "Here's your lightsaber." Speaking of, one of my favorite scenes as well that I thought was kind of funny was when like they were in, I think, the Millennium Falcon and like Finn has to go up or something and he kind of crawls on top of her head. I thought that was funny. But yeah. That's my take on that. As far as Rey's lineage, her parentage, I personally don't like the idea of her being Luke or Leia's child, like either or, because with Luke that's too obvious since he's the previous protagonist. That's too obvious. With Han Solo and Leia, that's also too obvious, and that's also sort of like going back to the old tropes of the story where there were the two children, the siblings, and I didn't like that. I mean, it would be interesting to have the siblings fight, I guess, but I don't know. I'm of the mindset that it may be Obi-Wan's child. Because from what I understand, they have Sir Alec Guinness doing a voiceover. I don't remember exactly what he said. I personally didn't. It was in the theater, so I couldn't really tell, but he says something, and they have Ewan McGregor doing the younger version of Obi-Wan, which is personally my favorite because he looks awesome with that sick beard. They have him also doing a voiceover, and I think he says like Rey. He addresses Rey, and I believe in another trailer they also kind of do a thing where it's Luke audio of original trilogy Luke like around that time with Mark Hamill coming in to like dub over it and do like some reverb thing. It's kind of like that, and so I suspect that really on the ground that Obi-Wan addressed Rey by name. I suspect that Rey may be Obi-Wan's daughter. And I think that's more interesting because it really kind of comes out of left field when you think about it. But I feel like the only reason why it does, or the only way it would, is if you're not, like, if you've only seen the movies and you haven't watched, like, the Clone Wars TV show, or you haven't watched, read any of the novels or done any sort of like the other spin-off stuff where they go into other characters and sort of expand the story a little bit. If you've just seen like the 7 movies, there's kind of like a lot that you can possibly miss. It's kind of like the Kingdom Hearts games, how like with between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 there was Chain of Memories, and that sort of set the stage for Kingdom Hearts 2 a little bit, mainly in just the fate of Sora for the time being, in a way. I never finished Chain of Memories because I didn't like it, but that's my viewpoint. I feel like there's a chance that Rey may be Obi-Wan's daughter, just because it comes out. It's unique enough of a surprise. Plus, there's really not anything we know about Obi-Wan's personal life besides being the teacher to Anakin. Like maybe he felt responsible, or maybe he was instructed by Yoda to be like, go impregnate some woman and have a child to sort of be like our third hope. And Rey, she's trying to find her parents, like her family, and so because of that, the audience is also trying to wonder like what happened to Rey's family. And I feel like, and they're doing that because they want you to start thinking about it. That it's kind of an important point to think about, I think. It'd be a big surprise because, we don't see Obi-Wan really doing any other. I mean, obviously, I'm sure he has a personal life, or I don't know. But we do know that there is a fair amount of time between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, so, to where he might have had a child. Because when he comes in A New Hope, he's a lot older. So that's my viewpoint. And I feel like it would also be an interesting way to tie in any sort of like spinoff and try to make people who just watch the movies to be like, well, if you like this series, maybe you should try reading the comic books or the novels or any of the other any of the other spinoffs that are not necessarily like the main thing with this series, like the spinoffs. I don't know about any games or anything, but probably what's the word? Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's a good way to like sort of it serves as a gateway for Star Wars fans to maybe expand their fandom a little bit and maybe play one of the video games or watch one of the other like specials or movies or something, or read one of the novels or graphic novels, or watch Clone Wars on Cartoon Network, because there's a lot of stuff that gets talked about in this series that people like. I'm mainly I dove into like some of the Star Wars stuff. Like I did play some of the games, and I'm aware that R.A. Salvatore did write the novelization for Attack of the Clones, the second prequel movie. But I'm a fan of the movies. So and there's that rumor of the Obi-Wan Solo movie, which would be so cool. Like Obi-Wan is my favorite character. I used to be a hardcore Qui-Gon Jinn guy, but then like when Attack of the Clones came out and he had the beard, I'm like, oh, that's you're cool, Obi-Wan. Then like, but that's just my viewpoint. That's really all I have to say about the movie. I really liked it. My only complaints really being, I feel like it needs to be said. It is really nostalgia heavy. So if you've never seen Star Wars, this is definitely not the movie to see. Or I mean, you can if you want to, but you're not going to feel as connected to the older characters as someone who has seen the entire series. And also the sort of like weird sort of twist with Finn and Rey in regards to who is the chosen wielder of the Force. I feel like that was handled sort of strange, because again, it may just be because I knew a little bit more about the behind the scenes stuff, like with social media and whatnot. But I knew going in that Rey was like the one with the Force. I put my suspension of disbelief away, or my sort of outside knowledge away, and think, oh well, maybe it turns out that Finn's the one with the Force. Nope, it's Rey. And I don't know, maybe they're gonna do a thing where Luke trains both. That'd be cool. Though with Finn, he did try to run away, or initially, and then he kind of came back. So, and the other thing, what was my other complaint? I think that was really the only complaint I can think of, or the only complaints I could think of, besides maybe, yeah, I think that was it. Besides maybe not getting to see Luke enough. I want to hear what kind of voice he does, because, Mark Hamill has become pretty much a big voice actor these days. Like, he does the Joker. It'll be interesting to see how he handles the voice of this older Luke, who now has a beard, which is funny. I almost feel like they should have maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they probably did that just to make him look a little more wizard-like, and he looks pretty dang good, if you ask me. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about this movie. I'm looking forward to the episode 8 that I believe is going to be in 2017, maybe 2018 or something, and then episode 9, and then that'll be the end of the whole franchise, unless they decide to make a 10th one. I believe George Lucas was originally intending to do 9, and I heard that he had a story draft for 7, but they rejected it, and it's as a creative writer, it's a little saddening to me that I think he kind of wanted it that way. He wanted sort of the experience of going into the theater and experiencing the movie kind of for the first time and not really being a part of it. Because I imagine even though it's fragmented, even for a director, since he's recording piece after piece after piece, he's probably seeing a lot of the movie, especially if he edits or takes a hand in the editing or whatever. But yeah. Star Wars The Force Awakens. It's a good movie. You should definitely go see it. And I'm going to try and get it on Blu-ray. I think actually Little Karibo is doing a audio track for the blind. For those who can't actually physically or visually see the movie. And I think all it really is, he's just explaining the scene detail by detail. Probably as he's watching it. And that's cool. I might actually put that one on when I get the movie. But yeah. That's what I think about the movie. It's good. You should definitely go see it if it's still in theaters, or get it on Blu-ray, or download it digitally off of Amazon or something. But yeah, good movie. This is Flames Around, aka YouTube Tasuke, signing out. See you later.